Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. I'm Steve. Hi, Steve. Thank you. Am I God or is God in me? Am I the love or does it flow through me? Am I the waves or an arm of the world? Ah, their beauty as they crest and curl. Am I the voices in harmony? The look of love or your powerful beauty? Fingers on frets and the notes sustain. The ivory's pressed, only love remains. Am I all these things? And maybe so much more. For years and years I've come to explore. It all comes down. In the end you'll see. To the love in you, the love in me. Am I the notes that make the song, or lovers' hearts as they dance along? And maybe stars in a desert sky. There's such a freedom in just asking why. The clear twinkle in a baby's eyes, or children's laughter on a carnival ride. Just to stop for a moment and be the love in you, the love in me. Am I all these things? Maybe so much more. For years and years I tried to ignore. It all comes down. In the end you'll see. To the love in you, the love in me. It all comes down. In the end you'll see. To the love in you. Right to the love in you. Oh, the love in you, the love in me.
Awesome. Hey. Hey is the fifth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. You probably wondered why I say hey. That's not why I say hey, but it happens. Steve Mason, his new album called Here Now, there's a CD release party and concert at East West Bookshop on August 3rd, which is Saturday. Happens to be the evening of the day that is the house project from Unity in Lynnwood. So it's where people can go to kind of relax after that. It's a great picture.
I'll be playing at the Habitat project during the afternoon.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then head over to East West after. And hammering things.
And you've got to make sure which it is that you have in your hand at the given.
Keep the fingers out of the way.
So it's kind of nice getting together at a time when everything has smoothed out in the world. No, really, when the ground beneath our feet just feels really solid and sure. A renewed sense of security, calmness. And you know what we need? You got to watch out for me walking. I told you about that. Stand still. I don't know if I can talk if I stand still. It's almost as if Shabbat was invented for times like this. And the weird thing is that I felt like that for a really long time. You know, just aware of the energies of the week and the energies of the world. And it's almost like every generation finds their own anxiety and their own stresses. But in one way or another, we've always lived with it. Not as much, it seems to me. And there's just a part of me that craves Shabbat. That just craves letting go of the focus on what's wrong. And knowing, you know, the worst that could happen is we might forget it for a while. It'll find us again. But what is the energy like? If the universe is saying, look, what we're missing right now is an energy of calmness, and what we are missing right now is an awareness, such a deep awareness of connection. What we're missing right now is that energetic bridge that reaches across the incredible chasms of polarization. And in my tradition, the name of that bridge is Shabbat. It's the dwelling in the world we wish to inhabit. It's the taking responsibility for the consciousness that has been entrusted to us. And looking at what am I doing with that consciousness in this moment. What am I focusing it on? And is that helping? How much of my time do I spend focusing on the solutions versus how much of my time do I focus on the problems? And just witnessing in some kind of gentle, calm way how the mind is so compellingly drawn toward the problems. Outer problems, inner problems. And how do we hold that mind just in an embrace of it's okay right now. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're focusing on, whatever you're remembering, whatever you're yearning for, whatever it's just okay. I'm going to breathe with you. I'm not going to demand you to be any different than you are right now. I'm not even going to demand that the world be any different than it is right now, because that actually won't help. But what would I hold in consciousness if what I saw was connection? What would I hold in my consciousness if what I witnessed was love? would I hold in consciousness if what I witnessed was good news, healing news, supportive news? What would I be holding in consciousness but thank you? So thank you for this moment. Thank you for the willingness to step into a space of wholeness and completeness. Daring to do that. It almost feels treason in our culture that is just, no, not that. What? Love? What? Connection? So ma yafeh hayom, ma means what or how. Yafeh is beautiful. Yofi. Ma yafeh, how beautiful. Hayom. Yom is day. If you put ha in front of a noun, it adds the definite article, the. It's what the hey does, the letter hey. If you put the hey in front of any word, it makes it definite. It makes it actual. It makes it here. Hey. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat. The fulfillment of creation. And shalom, that wholeness that is the essential nature of our being, that wholeness that awakens at a moment of Shabbat. It has a melody. I mean, you knew that Shabbat would have a melody. But this one, you know.
Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. How beautiful the day. Shabbat shalom. How beautiful the day. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. How beautiful the day. Shabbat shalom. How beautiful the day. Shabbat shalom.
6 words in the next line, but there's only 5 distinct words because one word is repeated. And the one word that's repeated is actually a fake word. I mean, these are the mysteries of life. The fake word that's repeated is a word that's a replacement for the name of God that can't be pronounced. The 4-letter name. So somewhere in maybe the 3rd or 2nd century before the Common Era, consciousness awakened to the awareness that if we're talking about everything, if we're talking about a moreness that simply can't be contained, it can't be worded, because every word is a container. Here's a word, it contains whatever it names. What if you're talking about something that is the container, but itself can't be contained? Well, you can't say it. Because the moment you say it, our consciousness acts as if it's an object. Every name is an object. Could be a beautiful object. We could treat objects really nicely, but it's an object. It's a thing. Separate. Words separate. Names separate. For good reason, for good purpose, but so what if you're talking about something that just has no opposite and has no limits and has no... So you don't name it, but then what do you do when you come across those letters that indicate that isness, that being, that presence, that life? Well, you can't just go, ah. Why not, you ask? Because then people would think, is the... So it's got replaced with a word, and the word that it got replaced by is Adonai. And Adonai is a Hebrew word that means Lord. And the terrible thing is that when the line gets translated, the word Adonai gets translated rather than the word for which it is a sign, for which it is a signal, for which it is a symbol. The word for which it is a symbol is best translated what is. Isness. As if that was a word. Shema means listen. Hear. This is a line from the 6th chapter of the book of Deuteronomy. This is the central affirmation of my tradition. It's a line that was quoted in the gospel by Jesus. It's just fundamental. And if all it had was the first word, it would be enough. Listen. You know, it's like that wonderful psalm verse, which is gently translated, shut up, or be still. Harpu'ud u ki anochi Elohim, be still and know that I am his God. Shema, listen. First we listen to the mind, and then we listen to the one who's listening to the mind, and then we listen to the one who's listening to the one who's listening to the mind. It just keeps going, Elizabeth. There is no end there. Listen, Yisrael. Yisrael, in Torah, in the Bible, there was no country named Israel. There was a person named Yisrael, and the person named Yisrael was Jacob. Jacob's name became Yisrael, and so his children, who were the 12 tribes, became the children of Israel. So Yisrael is a name of a people. But the word Yisrael means God endures. Yisra, persist or endure. El is one of the names, one of the words that points to God, like one of the most general. Listen, God persists, God endures. And then Adonai, isness, being, presence, Eloheinu, Eloheinu, is our God. That essence of all being, that presence, that connection, that isness is awakening within each and every one of us. That's the one, that's who we are. Behind our masks, behind our histories, behind our frailties, behind our excellences. And then isness is one. Echad means one. Adonai Echad. It's all one. God, it's the hardest thing for us to get. I was thinking this morning again about how weird our reality is. It is so weird. I can't even... You know that all of us are looking. We look out and we see things out there. But we're not. We're seeing things in here. We're interpreting data inside our heads and then projecting it as if it's out there. I mean, literally, this is not crazy. I mean, the world we're living in is kind of nuts. Whose idea was this? And then we look at that projection and we decide that that's reality. Well, wait a minute. Who's doing that? It's an amazing, amazing trip. So, like, what I'd really like is to have everybody learn this line, because you never know when you might need it. In Jewish tradition, this is the line that's to be recited at the moment of dying. The tradition is it's recited in the morning, it's recited in the evening, it's in every formal service. And the problem with saying something at the time of our dying is that unless we've been practicing it, it is eclipsed by the other sound that comes when we think we're dying, which is, ah! And why would this be a line that is to be said at the time of dying, if not to remind us that there's nowhere to go? There's nowhere else to be. There's nowhere else to be. Will our experience be different? Well, yeah. But what's gone? There's no gone. There is shift, there is change. And what's the energy that I want to carry so that I can notice? Well, fear is not helpful. It's kind of helpful to have a gentle curiosity and to go, I want to see what happens. So I'd invite you to say these words with, well, you could say them after me. Shema. See, it's really Shema. Yisrael. Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. You know, it's that ch thing. Echad. And it goes like this. This is really the beginning of my path in terms of awakening to an inclusivity in my own tradition, through my own tradition, was with this line. And the early meditations that I led at people's homes in the 1970s, this is the only thing we did. And this was the meditation that I did, not me alone, but it's a meditation many of us did. Just this line, this is the mantra. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. If it was Sanskrit, how many of you know a Sanskrit mantra? So this is the Hebrew mantra, a universal Hebrew mantra. It's like a holy language of the Western world as opposed to the holy language of the Eastern world. They're both holy languages.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
And perhaps allow yourselves to let your eyes close. And to take those words inside. If the only word you have is Shema, it's enough. If you have Shema Yisrael, it's good. If you have Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, it's good. If you have Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, it's good. If you just have the first word and the last word, Shema Echad, listen, one, it's good. And if you want to open your eyes and practice the words on the screen and then bring them inside, that's good. a reminder. A reminder that no matter how separate we appear to each other and to our world, it's all one. No matter how fragmented our experience, no matter how polarized our realities, no matter how contradictory our narratives, behind all that, there is one. One life. One life. Awakening at each unique location. At each unique human location, at each unique four-legged location, at each unique winged location, at each unique plant life location. At each mountain and each stone, in each drop of water. In the air. In order to move in this material world, we perceive separateness. Yet we strive to remember that although that helps us move safely, it does not describe or reflect the deeper nature of the reality we are. Listen. God persists, God endures, oneness is. Everything that is awakens within each and every one of us as our source, the essence of our being, the truth of our being. Listen. It's all one. We are one. I am one. And in this one, I am safe. I am secure. I am known. I am loved. In this one, I am blessed. And in this one I live. listen. There's something greater going on right now. There is being, presence, life, awakening, right here, right now. And this life, this presence, this being offering itself at our individual locations of time and space is one. The life in me greets the life in you. The one in me greets the one in you. There is no other one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
And if you feel comfortable opening your eyes, I was studying theology this morning on the comic page. I'm grateful for the comic page. And my favorite strip is called Pearls Before Swine. Do you know that one? And Rat says to Goat, I think the world's religions are right. The key to life is to love other people. And Goat says, do you think you can do that? And Rat says, yes. Except the annoying ones. Those I'll hit with a stick. Goat says, I don't remember that in Scripture. Rat says, yes, you only have to love the friendly ones. You know, what naturally follows the awakening to one is love. You know, it's not only a love that awakens for ourselves, but for every other one. It's just the most natural thing in the world, you know, because with greater connection comes that heart opening. You know, we are identifying not as separate, we are identifying as us. Except for those who are mean. Except for those who don't agree with us. So what's the problem? And the problem is, of course, us. And the us that's a problem is our separate self. Oh God, our wonderful egos. And I wanted to talk about the ego this morning, but I wanted to start it by finding out what the problem is. Because this, in the Torah cycle at this time of the year, there's this whole bunch of ego stuff going on. A couple weeks ago, it was the major rebellion in the wilderness. Korach gets together around 250 men, and he's challenging Moses, and he says, who says you're the leader? I mean, you've said everybody's holy, so if everybody's holy, why are you taking on all this power yourself? The subtext, which is pretty out in the open, is I want it. I think people should follow me. It actually didn't work real well as a rebellion because it turned out that the ground opened up and swallowed Korach and all of those with him. Punishment is not terribly effective, you know, as a teaching mechanism. So it certainly didn't stop rebellions, but that was the consciousness of the time. You know, and it was decided, well, Korach wanted leadership for his own self-aggrandizement, you know, for his own selfish motives, and Moses, of course, is the humblest of men and wasn't seeking his power for himself, but chosen by God to lead. And then a couple weeks later we get another one. And the other one is really, I mean, you know the first one, having people wanting power for their own self, you know, to make them, say money or fame or amass great wealth. We don't know anything like that today. We get this remarkable story about a powerful influencer named Balaam. You see, it was the days before social media. So you couldn't use Twitter and you couldn't put something on Facebook. And if you really wanted to publicize an energy, there were people to whom you would turn who would fulfill that for you. So the king of Moab, named Balak, here you've got the children of Israel coming into his territory, and he decides, I want to get social media to turn the energy of the people against this group of people. Because if we could turn the energy enough against this people, they can't. Well, we're not going to let them in. So the king, Balak, sends noblemen to Balaam to promise great wealth if Balaam would come and curse this people who are at the border. Balaam says, well, I'll have to consult the oracle and I'll have to see if I can do this. And he comes out and he says, no, I don't think so. So they realize that when they go back to tell their king says, well, you've got to offer him more. I mean, clearly you haven't offered him enough reward to do this. So they offer him more. And you know, Balaam knows that this isn't a good thing, but I could retire. That'd be kind of nice. Okay, I'll go. And so he goes with the entourage that the king has sent. And he has an interesting thing on the way. He's riding on his donkey. And as they're going on the path, all of a sudden the donkey turns away from the path. Balaam, who's been on the donkey, it's his donkey. What are you doing, you know? Go a little bit further, they're going through a vineyard, and the donkey is kind of pressing against the walls of the vineyard, you know, hurting Balaam's leg. And Balaam is getting upset with the donkey. And he's yelling at the donkey, and he's starting to hit the donkey. And they go a little bit further, and the donkey sits down under him. Balaam is furious. Balaam starts hitting the donkey with the stick and saying, what are you doing, what are you doing? Finally, the donkey turns around, looks at Balaam, and says, why are you hitting me? You see, there are 3 animals who talk in the Bible. Really? Balaam's donkey is one. Who's the other? Well, the serpent in the garden. And who's the third? This is a toughie. People. That's a trick question. The donkey turns around and says, open your eyes. Open your eyes. And Balaam finally looks up and he sees in the path is an angel standing there with a sword, ready to cut him down. And he couldn't see it. Well, he couldn't see it because his eyes are blinded by the riches that he's going after, and he's trying to ignore the deeper truths that are awakening within him. And he says, okay, I'm going to go, but I'm going to consult, and I'm going to only pronounce words of curse if that's what is proper. And he goes up. Balak, the king, takes him up to the mountaintop, and they look down at the people. And Balak says, these are the people I want you to curse. And Balaam says, okay, I'm going to go into meditation. Comes out, he says, I can't curse. I can't do it. Balak gets upset. He says, look, come over here. Look at him from this angle. Balaam again says, I'm going to have to go into meditation. I got to see, because he's got this image of the angel with the sword. He's comes out of meditation. He says, I can't do it. Balak is getting really upset, because he experiences everything depending on the social media moving public opinion against what? Against the immigrants who are massing at the border. So he takes him to another place. He says, do it from here. And Balaam again goes into meditation. He comes out. He says, I can't curse. And he starts to pronounce words of blessing. And one of the statements of blessing he pronounces actually has made its way into the standard Jewish prayer book. It's part of every service. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. Balak was not pleased. But where is Balaam today? I mean, you could just see, this is ego. The ego wants power for itself. It is afraid of anyone else taking any of that power, and it feels so fragile, but in its fragility, it thinks power and control will save it. It thinks everybody else is out to take it away, rather than out to make it better, and out to be supportive, and out to join the club, out to expand the circle. What do you do when people who are in need? What do you do when people are suffering? Oh, we tell them no. It's not going to work, actually. It's not going to work. And it's the ego. Here we are. And we have that too. Each and every one of us. Not only are we containers for that everything, not only are we vehicles for that presence and for that being and for that life, but man, we're also walking around in these separate bodies. We know those fears. We know it. And how can we know it and not be trapped in it? How can we know it and not be trapped in it? How can we know it and transcend it? Not deny it, but just not let it take us over. It doesn't, actually, you're not going to run the show. You could give me your opinion. You have a vote, but you don't have a veto. You're not the only vote. And I have to understand what my ego's doing in order to understand what other people's egos are doing. If I think only they have egos, I'm pure, it'll never work. So a reminder of the way, because love is the way. And love is more than a wonderful embrace, although I love wonderful embraces. Love is an opening. Love is a connection. Love is a consciousness of knowing, seeing, being, behind the illusion of separateness. Love is the I know. Of course you get afraid. Love is, we gotta talk. Love is, there's more going on here. Love is, we're part of something bigger. Love is, we got to reach beyond what appear to be the separations. Whatever appear to be the separations. Love is the way to God.
Love is the way to God. Love is the way of God.
Listen to the word of love within.
Listen to the word of love within your heart. to the word of love within. Listen to the word of love within your heart. Love is the way to God. Love is the way of God. Listen to the word of love within. Listen to the word of love within your heart. Love is the way to God.
It's another story of ego that I personally experience as a kind of fake. It's a remarkable story where Miriam dies in the wilderness, and people are upset. We're always upset. There's no water. So we're complaining to Moses about water, and Moses talks to God, and God says, take your staff, go out and talk to the rock. Tell the rock to give water. Moses is angry. I mean, this is the story. Moses is angry. Here's the people. They're complaining. They're always complaining. Complaints. We don't have this. We don't have that. Now they do that. He comes out, and instead of just talking to the rock, he hits the rock with his staff. And the rock pours forth water. But God says to Moses, you didn't listen to me. I told you just to speak to the rock, and you hit the rock. Not allowed. Because you did this, you're not going to be able to enter the promised land. You've led the people out of Egypt. You've led the people in the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. You can't go into the promised land. And that's all that's said about it. That's the reason Moses isn't allowed to go in. Moses doesn't say anything. There's no, oh no. It doesn't say that. Oh please. No, just that. And we look, oh, Moses is angry. God is angry. I'll tell you what Moses said. I happen to have been there. God says to Moses, you can't go in the promised land, and Moses goes, oh my God, I am so tired of leading this unruly group of people. You ever herd cats? Try herding a group of Jews. That's a little... Moses is delighted. I'm done. I may be done. You know, but it sounds like there's this great punishment. You can't be a Moses emeritus. I mean, you just can't do it. You can't have a leader of that caliber. What, he's going to sit in the congregation? It won't work. It just won't work. You see, you've got to have some way of having Moses complete the task that was Moses's to complete. Moses's task was get this people out of Egypt and bring them to the promised land. It was not an easy trip, but he did it. It's a whole new generation going into the promised land. You know, it's time for a new generation. It's time for new leadership. It's time for something new to develop. It's not time anymore for a Moses. There's this great wisdom. So sometimes I read the angry and go, this is a put-up job. This is something altogether different. You know, this is like this fabricated story because nobody actually wants to read how glad Moses is to be done. I mean, you know, like to end the Moses story with that. But my God, actually he got severance? Because the promised land didn't quite turn out to be always such a promised land. We went in as a people and we grew more and more separate and more polarized. Our tribes fought each other. Here we are. Go at it. And it's really a lesson for us all. It's like, can we remember? How long can we remember? So we enter a meditation, we affirm oneness, we listen, maybe we shema, we do whatever mantra is your mantra or whatever meditation is your meditation, and you get into a calm place, and then you see if you could witness when did you lose that? And can we be aware of when we lost it? How soon after we lost it can we be aware? My initial exploration with the Shema was I wanted to have it going in my consciousness all the time. I didn't want to just do meditation when I'm sitting. I wanted to have it. It was actually a style of meditation that I had learned in a Hindu tradition, of having a mantra go all the time. How into sleep, how far into sleep could I take the Shema? How soon after awakening could I find the Shema? What were the things that were, just some part of my brain doing that? And in my own experience, I had an auto accident about 1.5 years after I had started to do that, and the first thing that came to me was the Shema. And I got convinced of two things. One was, I think it helped staunch the blood flow because I had injured my head. The second thing I thought was, I think it's time for me to teach. Because that was, I had learned something important. What's really interesting in a way to me is that now, 45 years later or something, I'm still teaching the same thing. I just haven't grown at all. It's called grace.
I have stared down the devil, gone toe to toe with God. I have wrestled with my demons, walked where angels trod. Still my best intentions fail me. I give in to my frailty. I wind up on my face. Despite all my misgivings, all you ever give is grace. I'm the fool who never gets it, Second chance is just a start. Though I know that I'll regret it, I've got a hopeless heart. Still my best intentions fail me. I give in to my frailty. I wind up on my face. Despite all my misgivings, all you ever give is grace. I have taken life for granted. Seems I don't deserve to live. When I've given up on trying, and it is all I've left to give. Still my best intentions fail me. I give in to my frailty, wind up on my face. And despite all my misgivings, all you ever give is grace. Despite all my misgivings, all you ever give is grace. Thank you. Thanks very much.
I'll tell you, I just want to say a word of appreciation for Steve Mason up here, because I mean, I don't understand in his upbringing how come he didn't know Hebrew, but just working with you is really easy and comfortable, and you're very supportive. I appreciate you. So he's learning the Hebrew along with you. How you doing? Some of you came in and the basket wasn't there yet. Now the basket is there, and we deeply appreciate your support so that we can do these. So the basket will be there on your way out if it wasn't there on your way in. We went through the whole program today without providing you an opportunity to stand up. Bad. So if you're able, would you stand? And perhaps would you kind of move together so you can experience. It's really interesting, you know, When we get here, no one else is there. Cameron alone is our congregation. And he's very appreciative. I mean, he does everything he can. And we never know who's going to come, because there was no ticket pre-sale. So maybe today there'll be 2 people. Did you know? And then you all got here. And I truly believe it. Each and every one of us is here on purpose. I truly believe that which we shared could not be and could not have been without you present. And I can appreciate how it might not seem that way to you, but I know it. Just like I know that carrying the energy of Shabbat into our world makes a difference. Each and every one of us who even just once responds open-heartedly instead of angry. Each and every one of us who just responds supportively rather than judgmentally. Each and every one of us who looks at someone who appears so different and goes, here we are. How can I know you? How can I affirm that? How can I welcome you? And you might even imagine in a moment like this, imagining how you could share some of these energies in your world this week. Like that and that. We can't do it without each other. And I believe we can do it with each other. And I believe we must do it with each other. Expanding our circles, expanding our connections, expanding our hearts. So thank you for your presence. Thank you for your willingness. And thank you for allowing all of us to support each other as we journey from strength to strength, from love to love, and from life to life. If you don't know that, it starts with strength, and the first strength has a small s, and the second strength has a capital S. Then it goes love, small l, to a big L, and then it goes life, small l, to a, I'm doing it backwards, small l to a big L. So support each other as we journey from strength to strength, from love to love, and from life to life. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.